Having seen just how easily we can work with floating point EXR files from Substance Designer, what we want to take a look at in this video is what, if any, difference exists when working with 8-bit files instead. To get started, we will need to follow pretty much the same steps as in the previous exercise, and so back in Substance Designer, using the scene that we saved out at the end of the previous exercise, let's once again make certain that we are outputting with width and height values of 3 and 3. Right-click on the wood floor graph and choose the Export Outputs as Bitmaps option, and then this time navigate to the Designer folder and save out JPEG files. In 3ds Max, after making certain that we are in the Floor tab in the Slate Material Editor, let's select all of the nodes found in the EXR version of our material, and then, whilst holding down the Shift key, left-click and drag to create copies of them. What we can do now is load the JPEG maps into the already connected bitmap nodes for the various channels, remembering to bypass the color map in this instance and plug straight into the material's base color slot. Straight away, we can see that we are now working with the colours that were present in Substance Designer's 3D view, which in this instance is perfect for the base colour channel. Let's go ahead then and load the other JPEG images into the bitmap loaders, and then after applying the material to the floor geometry, take another render, where what we see is that we get a noticeably different result in terms of both the reflectivity levels on the wood as controlled by the roughness map and the displacement channel as controlled by the height map. This is because the inverse gamma command that is automatically applied to all incoming 8-bit images in Max isn't actually needed for 8-bit data maps coming from Substance Designer, such as the roughness, height and normal options that we are working with here, given that this correction should only be applied to maps that have visible colour in them, such as the base colour and possibly reflection channels. Let's change this behaviour then by forcing a reload of the data bitmaps and using a gamma override value of 1 on them, which, when we render now, looks pretty much identical to the EXR version that we rendered in the previous exercise. The brilliant thing that we can take away from this chapter so far then is that it ultimately doesn't matter from a visual standpoint whether we use a procedurally based Substance or load bitmap files from Substance Designer into our materials, be they of the 16 or 8-bit varieties, as the end result is going to be pretty much the same no matter what. Of course, given the tremendous amount of flexibility that we have when using both the EXR files and the actual Substance node in Max, I'm going to come back to our Substance-driven version of the physical material and reapply that to the floor geometry.